What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It's been about 3 months since I've done one of these. This early season schedule has been super jam-packed, so just been focusing on streaming. But it's the All-Star break, so figured we'd start back up the mailbags. Gonna try and do this every week, but no promises on that. We'll see if, Eric maybe wants to do a couple. Might just space them out a little bit more than normal because these mailbags can get kind of repetitive with some of the same questions if we do it week after week. So I think maybe doing them once every couple weeks might be a little bit better. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. But a couple updates before we hop into your questions. The website should be relaunching soon. So if you're interested in writing for us, even if you sent us an email before, send us an email at blazersuprise@gmail.com. Even if you sent us an email before about that, send up a follow-up one because I know there's some people that sent some before, but those emails are buried now. So if you're interested, send us an email and we'll try and sort through that. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. Feel free to ask them in the comment section below. We just, kind of put a delay on that, and with how hectic the season has been, have kind of put that off a little bit, but we are going to try and get that ball rolling. It's going to be a work in progress, but we'll try and figure it out and improve it as we finish out the rest of the season. Other than that, stay tuned for some channel improvements over the next week or two. I tweeted out some things that I wanted to improve. Some of those should happen in the next 3-4 days. Some of those will happen probably before the end of the month, but I'm going to try and improve things such as my camera quality, the lighting, as well as, the channel banner is outdated. I kind of threw Robert Covington in there, but I don't even remember the edits I did on it, so it doesn't look right now. And I don't know, just YouTuber stuff that I'm going to try and focus on improving with the channel. So just stay tuned for that type of stuff. With that being said, let's jump into your questions that you gave me. I posted a community prompt. Make sure you stay in tune with the community tab. Check it every once in a while. I do want to post a little bit more on the community tab. Maybe a weekly poll or something. I don't know. I might not. It's to be determined on that. Just stay tuned because I will post things like mailbag prompts, and if we do have a trade talk episode, I will post a prompt in the community tab asking for maybe trade ideas if we do one of those. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I have a question based on that, so let's just hop into things. Anton Pack says, after this first half of the season, the Blazers have shown flashes of great defense. Do you think they will fully realize their defensive potential by the playoffs? And I don't know. The way that's worded makes it sound like they're, an average defensive team that has, a couple games where they're just phenomenal defensively. The flashes are few and far between, to be honest. I mean, you're talking about the 29th ranked defense in the league. So I would have liked to have seen more in terms of them playing actual defense, because they've struggled for the most part this season to defend, especially against good teams. And we've had a very easy schedule, one of the easiest schedules in the league, and we're still ranked 29th. So in terms of my optimism of the defense figuring things out by the playoffs, I'm not too optimistic. I mean, we'll see. Getting Nurkic back should help, but this team has definitely struggled. I still don't have confidence that Stotts will be creative enough defensively to, slow teams down. He loves his drop scheme. We've seen occasional hedges and occasional, zone defenses and times where he has switched things up. But overall, I think he's just a little bit too stubborn and a little too stuck in his ways in terms of running drop scheme. And I think that'll also hold back this defense from truly realizing its potential. So I'm not the most optimistic, but fingers crossed. I hope they figure things out on that end of the ball, because they definitely need to. Clayton asks, do you really think that this roster is a contending level roster personnel-wise? And if we even had an average coach, let alone an elite one, do you think we could win Dame and CJ a chip? In terms of this roster being a contending level roster, I think it has contending level talent on it. It would take, Nurkic kind of getting back to his peak that he was showing us right before he ended up breaking his leg. It would take maybe Rodney Hood kind of getting back to more of the Rodney Hood he was last year. And I mean, you just look at this roster though, and you think about how good Nurkic can be if he's playing at his peak. You look at the things that CJ was doing this year. You look at how good Dame is. That's a really good big three in my opinion, and I would put it up there against most big threes in the NBA. I think you can contend with those three guys as your three best players. You just have to have the right role players around them. I think Neil Olshey did a good job of doing that this year. Robert Covington has finally found his shot, and he is the perfect complement to those three. He's been phenomenal. Derrick Jones Jr. has been shooting the ball great lately, and with Nurkic's passing, I mean, I guess this is where the coach comes in. If we had better movement, you combine Nurkic's playmaking ability at the center spot. In CJ's a decent passing shooting guard. He was averaging 5 assists per game at the 2 guard before he went down with injury, and then Dame is averaging 8 assists a game. We have passing ability on this team. You combine that with athletes like Anthony, Derrick Jones Jr., the last 2 dunk champions, by the way, and then you got Nasir Little as well. You got a good mix of playmaking ability, and then your role players are athletic. Some of them can defend. I don't know. I like the way a lot of the players on this team complement each other's skills. I think this team, if everything goes right, could beat anybody in a playoff series. Connor Martin says, which Blazers media member irritates you the most? This guy. Eli Lewis says, what do you think about a trade for Delon Wright on the Pistons? A trade might look like Anthony, Hood, and a second for Wright and Wayne Ellington. Maybe we'd have to give up more, but I think Wright is a player flying under the radar that is gettable and could help our team a lot. Advanced stats like him, and he's a big and well-rounded guard we could bring off the bench. He'd instantly be our second or third best playmaker, could defend the opponent's best backcourt player, and shoot the 3. I like Delon Wright. Would be an interesting third guard. I think he'd be a good fit. Here's the problem with that, though. What do you do with Gary Trent Jr.? Does he become the backup 3? I think he's a little undersized to play the 3. I don't think going out and trading for a backup guard and keeping Gary Trent Jr. makes a lot of sense. I assume in your roster construction, in your lineup, you would have Gary Trent Jr. as the backup 3 behind Derrick Jones Jr. here, considering you're trading Hood, but you don't really have enough minutes at the guard spots if you keep Gary Trent Jr. as a backup guard for Delon Wright and Gary Trent Jr. behind Dame and CJ. If you're trading Anthony and a second-round pick and Hood for Delon Wright, you're probably playing him, 20 minutes per game? That takes up almost all your backup guard minutes. Then it comes into, okay, Gary Trent Jr. is an undersized backup 3. That's not his best position. He's more of a 2, and it creates an issue that way. This just doesn't really raise the ceiling of the team. It creates question marks in terms of where Gary Trent Jr. plays, and therefore I wouldn't trade a guy with the potential that Anthony Simons has for a role player who creates some question marks. And that's a logjam kind of at the guard spot without even talking about Wayne Ellington. Because then how does Wayne Ellington factor into that? I don't understand how Wayne Ellington would factor into that rotation either. I would not do this trade. If Detroit offered it to us, I would say no. Gordon has a great question. He says, first time I'm trying this, let me try something not so basketball-y. Why the name Blazers Uprise? Can we know a little bit more about you guys? What did you guys do growing up till now, etc.? Just something different. Well, I mean, I can only speak for myself on what I did growing up. I played a lot of basketball and watched a lot of basketball, watched a lot of sports. That was basically it. Played your college ball. I'm sure most people know that, and some people have a problem with me even mentioning that for whatever reason. But in terms of why the name Blazers Uprise, it was kind of just a spin-off of Rip City Uprise, which was like the playoff slogan in 2009, 2010 when the Blazers first made the playoffs. That was the first time I saw Blazers playoff basketball because I was too young before that, and to witness the collapse of the Western Conference Finals in 2000 or whenever it was. I was too young for that. So the first time they ever made the playoffs, their slogan was Rip City Uprise. I figured Blazers Uprise. Cool spin-off of that, catchy. And I thought, Uprise was kind of, you could use it as a word for what we're trying to do in terms of coverage of the team. We're creating a little bit of an uprising in terms of the media scene. A lot more talk about, do you like Stotts? do not like Stotts than there ever was before. And maybe I'm overestimating our impact on that, but I think we've definitely had an impact on that. I don't know. We cover the team differently. So I thought the word uprise is kind of like, the word revolution, and maybe you could describe our channel as that. I don't know, you can interpret that word to mean whatever you want in regards to this channel. I just thought it was something that sounded good, and it was better than any other idea I had. I had a list of ideas and they were all pretty bad except for that one. Jason Lee says, what teams do you think will have interest in signing Canner? I have no idea. We haven't even passed the trade deadline yet, so I don't even know what rosters will look like headed into the offseason. So I have no idea. Just whatever team needs a backup center, I guess. Joel Feister says 2 questions if that's okay. It is okay, but you could make them different posts, and that way, I wouldn't be scrunched into this little box, and it would just be easier to read. If you ask 2 questions in 2 different comments, I am willing to put both of them in the video, but I'll just squeeze myself into this little space. Joel says, with the 5th worst defense of all time, they actually mentioned that during a game when referencing Sack being the worst all time, how much worse would it be without Rocco? Also, I have mad respect for Dame, of course, but his looking at the refs after every play, thinks he doesn't get a call. I just can't imagine whatever refereeing adjustments the team gets in their favor from complaining are worth the opportunity cost. Let me just talk on Rocco. It would be worse than the league if we didn't have Rocco. As far as Dame complaining about the refs, I get it, and he admitted he's a little bit more frustrated when he doesn't get calls lately because of some stuff that he's going through, so I'm not going to be too hard on him for that. I think he should make more of an effort in terms of getting back on defense compared to complaining to the refs, but he can do what he wants. He's Dame, man. I'm not going to be too harsh on him with that. And with this next question, I can breathe again. I got enough space now. Lil Bakel says, why does Anthony get so much hate from our fan base? I don't know, man. People are impatient. I mean, the dude's still 21 years old. He's an athletic guard, just won a dunk contest. We will recap that dunk contest on Blazers Uprise Live tonight at 9 p.m. Just won a dunk contest, is shooting 41% from the three-point line, and it's not like he's just shooting catch-and-shoot jumpers. He's shooting contested jumpers off the dribble, off the screens and whatnot, He just needs to improve his defense and his slashing ability and his playmaking ability. That's a lot of things to improve, but I think he'll figure it out. I think he'll be potentially one of the best 6th men in the league in his prime, maybe better. So people just need to be patient with him. It's just a lot of fans just want to see results right away, and if it doesn't happen, that player automatically sucks. And it might happen with Nas. If Nas gets in the rotation next year and has some growing pains, you'll probably have people turn on him too, even though everybody kind of loves Nas right now. You'll have people saying he sucks and no, we should trade him for this, we should trade him for that. People just need to be more patient. Connor McIntosh says, if you could switch Portland's offense with that of another NBA team in terms of ball movement, plays, etc., which team would you pick? Probably Golden State. The way they played offense when they had, Steph, Clay, Harrison Barnes, Draymond Green, Andrew Bogut, and they were winning a ton of games. I think we have the pieces to kind of run the same type of offense, and I think it would maximize our chances of winning in the postseason. Dame struggles in the postseason just because of how pick and roll and isolation heavy our offense is, and teams just trap him and load up on him, and that's why he struggles. I would love to see more stuff for him off the ball. You can't take Steph Curry out of a game in the playoffs because of the way Golden State and Steve Kerr utilizes him. So I would like to see us try and make it easier on Dame by doing some of the same things. So I would probably pick Golden State's offense for us to run. Michael Cook says, do you think Collins, assuming we re-sign him, should be getting most, if not all, of Melo's minutes next year at the 4? And I know Melo bails us out on offense from time to time when it's stagnant, but we need Zach's defense, and his growth is more important to this team long term. Yeah, I mean, Zach might be the backup center next year, though, too. Canner might not come back. He is on an expiring contract right now, so Zach might be the backup 5 with Melo the backup 4. I like Zach as the backup 5 next to Melo better than Canner, just because I think, Canner and Melo, it's tough because neither of those guys are good defenders, and Zach can, cover for some of Melo's mistakes on the defensive end and kind of help him out. So I think Zach would be a better fit next to Melo, but if they keep Kanter, I think Zach's also a better fit next to Kanter. You just need one of those two spots to be able to defend, and Melo and Kanter aren't really providing that. That Dame fan says, do you want the Blazers to make any moves before the deadline other than firing Stotts? And, I mean, it would be cool if we improved our roster, but there's not a whole lot of trades out there that would help us improve our roster and help us stay out of the tax, which is definitely a priority of the front office this year. You don't want to be paying repeater tax when Dame's extension kicks in. I don't blame them for staying out of the tax this year. I would definitely do the same, even if I had billions of dollars. So in terms of that, I don't know. I won't be mad like in previous years if we don't make a trade, if we do nothing. You know, it'll be a little bit of a buzzkill, but I honestly expect us to do nothing. In previous years, I was like, okay, this could be the year we do something, and then we did nothing. You know, or, you know, it was a trade for Rodney Hood where I wanted maybe a little bigger splash. But overall, like, I'm not going to be upset if we don't do anything. There's not many options out there. We're kind of in a tough spot, and we have a better roster than we've had in previous years. So it's not like we are as desperate for an upgrade as we were, you know, last year. And what did we do last year? We traded for Trevor Ariza, you know, a couple weeks before the deadline. That was cool. And then we also traded away Scal for nothing. So that was the deadline day. We traded away Scal for nothing. We literally gave something away for nothing instead of getting anything, so I was very disappointed last year. This year, I'm not tripping about anything. Thomas Saransky says, assuming there's no trades this season, who's an underrated buyout candidate you'd like to see Portland pursue? I think a buyout candidate is more likely than us making a trade in terms of a potential buyout candidate. I would love Otto Porter Jr. I always wanted Robert Covington and Otto Porter Jr. as our starting forwards. Now I'd probably bring Otto Porter Jr. off the bench, but we got Rocco. You know, we got one of the two guys that I always wanted at the forward spots. I would love to get Otto Porter Jr. if he's bought out. I think he would be a great fit at the backup three. Would fit well with Melo, above average defender who shoots 40% and can do a little bit off the dribble. He would be a great addition to our team. Our final question comes from Westbrick, who says, what do you think the Blazers record will be in the second half of the season? The Blazers have 37 games in the second half of the season. I'm just gonna randomly guess they go 21-16 and finish with a record of 42-30. That probably doesn't get you home court advantage, but that probably doesn't put you 7th or 8th either, where you would have to play your way into the playoffs. I think, you know, 5th, 6th seed range is the most likely scenario. I think they are capable of getting home court advantage and capable of getting a seed as high as 2. But, I mean, we've seen some issues so far this season that aren't going to be resolved when Nurkic and CJ come back. So I'm going to play it safe and say 42-30 at the end of the season, which would mean a second half record of 21-16. Westbrook's second thing he has to say is that he's starting Nas Uprise. He's wondering how much he'd have to pay me to leave Blazers Uprise and co-host Nas Uprise with him. That's a pretty tough negotiation. I'm not buyable, but, you know, you bring $1 million to the table and I'll listen. Anyway, that wraps up your questions from the past week. Feel free to leave your questions below, but I'll probably just start posting prompts in the community tab for mailbag questions in the future, because I don't think we're going to do this every single week, but we will definitely ramp up the videos a little bit more than we have been doing. You know, this is my first video in like 3 months, so I feel a little rusty. It's a little weird to sit down and record something compared to stream something, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hope you have a good week ahead. We will catch you tonight on Blazers Uprise Live, and we will catch you Thursday over there with the pregame show for that Phoenix Suns game on the 11th. That's a huge game, by the way. And then we'll have the post-game stream on Thursday. If you want to subscribe to Blazers Uprise Live, link is down in the description box below. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.